behind early last night in San Diego. But when push came to shove, they delivered big hits and recorded critical outs to win 8-5. Tonight, Dusty calls on California native Joe Ross to get things started while the offense tries to stick it to the Padres again.
It's another beautiful night in San Diego. Welcome to Petco Park. Nats have played very well here in recent years. That little lady trying to get a curly W for the visiting team tonight. Yeah, we'll take it. The Nats are playing very well, and they are on a big-time roll right now. 17 games over 500. They've won 6 of their last 7, 13 of their last 17, and as mentioned, playing very well against the Padres over the last few years. So there's the 13-4. The Cubs and the Nats have the most road wins in baseball, 86 runs in June, and even with Ryan Zimmerman and Daniel Murphy out of the lineup last night, FP, they still put 8 runs on the board, so this whole thing is cooking pretty well.
I mean, they're hitting home runs at a record pace. They're leading the National League in home runs. This ballpark yields less than 1 home run a game, 0.99 home runs. They hit 3 last night. The weather's warm here in San Diego. They're expecting the ballpark to play small, and we're going to show you last night. Bryce Harper going the other way. A high fly ball to left field in this ballpark never gets out. The temperature's been unseasonably hot. There's no marine layer here. He goes deep, celebrates with Max Scherzer. Then Wilson Ramos, we're thinking the all-star Wilson Ramos. He'll be back here in San Diego. He goes the other way. He's been locked in. So a ball club that's been absolutely prolific with the home runs keeps it up. Anthony Rendon pulls his hands in, hits one out of here. He loves to hit in this ballpark. So Taters, Waz, whatever you call them, these guys are getting her done.
So the Nats a big-time power show, and it's worthy to note as we get into the weekend now, Wilson Ramos finally has enough at-bats to qualify for the batting race, and guess what? He's number 2 behind Daniel Murphy. All right, to the bullpen. Is Sean Kelly the closer, and how effective do you think he can be?
Well, Dusty Baker said as much after the game last night. They're going to go to Sean Kelly in the 9th inning until Jonathan Papelbon's back. It depends on whether he can rebound. Remember, he's a 2-time Tommy John guy, so he's pitched a couple days in a row. If the Nats are ahead tonight, I don't know if he'll be the closer, but Dusty says every chance he gets, he's going to go with the guy you're looking at.
Yeah, workload and back-to-back days will be very important for Sean Kelly. He pitched Monday, Wednesday, and last night. So in the last 4 innings, giving up virtually nothing with a couple of saves. It's game 2, the Nats at San Diego.
in San Diego. Padres are 16-21 at home. The Nats keep on rolling. There's Tony Gwynn's number. The Nats are 22-13. And so Joe Ross, last time out against the Phillies, got a no decision. He was solid, 3 runs, 5 hits through 7 innings.
Yeah, did not walk a batter for the first time all year, and coming off that White Sox start in Chicago where he had trouble finding the plate, he locked it in. So he's faced the Padres once before. It was last August at Nats Park. But now the San Diego fans are going to see what they're missing tonight with Joe Ross.
So the Nats have won 8 out of 12 starts for Joe. His career record is 10-9. It'll be his 26th career start. And then for the Padres, it'll be 28-year-old Christian Friedrich. He's 3-1 this year with a pretty solid ERA. So minor league ball this year, he's up in the big leagues and doing a pretty good job for them.
Well, his last start was a good one at Colorado against a good Rockies lineup. He gave up just 1 run on 2 hits. So probably the best Padres starter tonight. And the Nats got their work cut out for him, but they've handled lefties this year, so we're ready.
So the Padre fans are ready too. On Friday nights, they wear their old traditional yellow and brown uniforms, but it's the guys in the gray, trimmed in blue and red, making the headlines right now. PNC Bank for the achiever in you, and by your local Kia dealers. Visit dckiadealers.com and learn more. Gorgeous night, clear skies, and getting ready for the Padres and the Nats here tonight. San Diego taking the field. They got the first LED lighting system in the National League in this ballpark. I just hope there's a backup for that system in case they don't come on for the game.
Well, it goes to the music. It's like a Christmas display with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra playing in the background.
I like it. So joy to the world the way the Nats are going right now. 74 degrees, humidity at 54%. It is absolutely fantastic in San Diego tonight. So Michael A. Taylor's back in there. As a starter, a 14-game hitting streak. Now, he hasn't had the 3 or 4 hit games as a rule, but when Dusty starts him, he is productive. Harper, home run last night. Murphy's back in. Zimmerman's back in. So it's pretty much the regular starting 8. Give or take a left or right-handed hitter in center field that takes on Christian Friedrich. He's 0-2 in 4 games, 2 career starts against the Nats.
Yeah, pretty good fastball, 89-90. He'll challenge you with it. Likes to throw into right-hander. Slider, curveball, change the complementary pitches. Slider, curveball, pretty good. He'll elevate the fastball with 2 strikes, but like we said, this is probably the Padres' best pitcher.
He's from Evanston, Illinois, went to high school in the Chicago area, then pitched for the Colonels of Eastern Kentucky University, originally drafted by Colorado.
Here's your defense behind Friedrich tonight. Upton Jr., Jay Kemp, the outfield. Templeton Nettles, left side. Flannery, Garvey, right side. And Bruce Bochy behind the plate. Terry Kennedy with the day off today.
Yeah, they were wishing they had that ball club out there. Jan Hervis Solarte, he was at second base last night. And Ryan Schimpf
who's playing in his 4th big league game, was at third base. So they flip-flopped him tonight with a left-hander on the mound. Nats offense plus 26 on the home run differential. 4th best in the major leagues. Anthony Rendon, 12 career games against San Diego, doing quite well. Had a home run here last night, a base on balls. And then Joe Ross. Right-hander's not doing a whole lot against him. 196 and the on-base percentage only in the 2s. Junior member of the umpiring crew has the plate tonight. That's Carlos Torres. Jerry Davis is the crew chief. He's over at third base tonight, 35th year. Sam Holbrook at second, Brian Knight at first. Friedrich ready. Here's Taylor, first pitch of the game. Michael A. in there hacking. We're underway at 10:41 Eastern. Taylor's batting average up to 224.
Likes to elevate the fastball with 2 strikes, climb the ladder. Wants his slider in.
Got it in. Taylor fly ball to left, and that's Melvin Upton Jr. for the first out. Michael A. 0 for 2 career against Friedrich. And next up will be Jason Worth. Worth hitting left-handers to the tune of 385. So 5 homers out of his 10. He's driven in total 37 runs on the year. And against this left-hander, 1 for 1 with a double and a base on balls. So Jeep takes us inside some Jason Worth numbers. Just under 350 his last 15 ball games. On base percentage way up there. The OPS, you name it. Jason's doing it. 14 for his last 33. Up and away. And that is soft. Down toward the end of the bat to the right side for Ryan Schimpf. And for the left-hander, 2 up, 2 down with Bryce Harper coming in.
So Bryce's 14th homer of the year last night, opposite field. And usually when he hits them the other way, they're low line drives. Or that one was straight up in the air, carried out of here. And like we said in the open, warm temperatures here in San Diego. There's no marine layer to speak of. And this ballpark is playing very small. So the Nats, who lead the National League with 91 home runs, are looking to add on here in this series.
And by the way, the Mets losing at home. Matt Harvey's 4-9. The Braves beating them tonight.
Boy, look at the left side. He's just, I mean, ground ball to short. Well, they're moving over there now. There goes Greg Nettles to play shortstop, a.k.a. Jervis Solarte.
0-1 to Harper, 1 for 6 career with a walk against Friedrich. And hitting .317 his last 11 games. Kind of a funny swing on a pitch down and in. So that number on the left went up a little bit last night with that long home run. Likes it here. 1 hopper though. And Friedrich has a very quick top of the first inning. Joe Ross to work against his former organization. to Petco Park and head up the stairs to your seats. There's the countdown clock. Wow, 24, nearly 25 days away. The All-Star game here in San Diego. First time since old Jack Murphy Stadium out there in Mission Valley, 1982. Will Myers, 8th in the league with 74 hits, 8th with 43 runs, 15 homers and 40 RBIs, having a hot month. And John Jay's off to a great start with a new ball club as well, hitting .292, and he leads the league in doubles. So a couple of guys back in the lineup that were not in there last night for Joe Ross to deal with.
Yeah, last start fastball average 92 for Joe. Slider changeup at only 4% his last start. Opponent's average 235. Righties just 196.
John Jay cracks one to center. Taylor going back, and it's off the wall. John Jay just now getting to second base, and I think he thought he hit one out of the park.
Yeah, I was about to say he swings at the first pitch all the time, and now you see why. 23rd double of the season. John Jay has been a doubles machine for the Padres, and I believe that's the most in the National League.
It is.
Yeah, he thought he got him, right? Location mistake. He wanted away. You see Wilson Ramos reaching across the plate. He's hustling out of the box. And I thought that was gone, so a leadoff double, not the worst thing for Joe Ross. I thought it was 1-0 Padres when he hit it.
Yeah, ball hitting right at the base of the wall. Taylor just unable to get back there to get under it. Here's Will Myers. Good hard sinker at the knees. His older brother Tyson Ross. He has made one start this year and has been on the DL. Right shoulder inflammation. Good slider. Not many of the Padres have faced Joe Ross before. Melvin Upton Jr. batting 5th will be the first one we see tonight. And time given, and Joe did what he should, just go continue and throw the ball, except now they know it was going to be a slider. So he doubled up anyway.
Well, he's trying to get Myers to pull the ball and keep John Jay at second base. Matt Kemp lurking.
Oh, 0-2 with nobody out. Padres scored a couple in the first inning last night. Tanner Roark solid after that, and a fastball up that he was able to hit the other way, so Will Myers advances John Jay.
It's good at bat. Nicely done by Will Myers. Here's your defense tonight for the Nats. Behind Joe Ross, Worth, Taylor, Harper, your outfield. Ben Revere with the night off. Espinosa, Rendon left side. Murphy, Zimmerman right side. And the Buffalo, Wilson Ramos behind the dish.
Matt Kemp, 6th in the league in home runs, 5th in RBIs with 15 and 45 respectively. Over there at first base, Ryan Zimmerman crept in a little bit. When that pitch was delivered, he was even with the bag. Shift on elsewhere on the infield.
Yeah, look at that. 3 on the left side. Needs a strikeout, pitching for it. sliders work best to Matt Kemp when you make him aware of your fastball in the inner half. Especially that two-seamer that Joe can get it on your hands if you're a right-hander. Going in there.
That ball ended up out over the plate. And the Padres have struck in the first inning again. Last night, Kemp with an RBI single right up the middle with nobody out. The first of their 2 runs.
When you have a reputation as a strike thrower, you're going to see some swings against you. There's no reason to take against Joe Ross. And look where Wilson Ramos is set up, and look where the pitch is. So about a 1-glove mistake down the middle allows Matt Kemp to get inside of that. Nice piece of hit and line drive back up the middle.
Next up, the third baseman, Yangervis Solarte. Left side, ball spinning a bit on Danny Espinosa and to Murphy. They'll take the lead runner for the second out. Melvin Upton Jr. 2 hits last night. First inning RBI. 2 steals in the 6th. And a run scored. Max Scherzer tomorrow night against 25-year-old Colin Ray of the Padres. Great breaking ball.
I just stayed on the same plane. Watch this. It didn't really have a lot of tilt to it, meaning it didn't go down. It just stayed on the same plane and hung a left.
Pretty pitch on the Mercedes-Benz pitch track. Upton 0 for 2 career against Joe Ross. Early numbers. We go inside, brought to you by PNC. Usually this doesn't happen. Joe's problems have come second time around, third time around, the middle of the ball game. Fastball away, a beauty. Got the foul tip and the strikeout. So Ross gets the last 2 batters to keep it a 1-run. Bottom of the first, Padres ping-ponging their way.
What is that? That is weird, and I don't like it. 7:05, Jason and his dog Magnus will be taking the field together. Jason's going to hit second. Magnus is hitting third. Oh, you get the figurine. What are you talking about? June 27th, 7:05 start against the Mets. First 20,000 fans, you get that. Go to nationals.com/promotions for more details.
Petco Park opened in 2004. Capacity 40,162, a quirky outfield configuration. And here's Daniel Murphy with Ryan Zimmerman behind him. Both got the night off last night. And all the offense did was score 8 runs on 9 hits. Murphy 0 for 1 career with a walk against Friedrich, and he goes in hacking. Still first in the league at 359. Closest pursuer, the guy who hits after Ryan Zimmerman, Wilson Ramos. Murphy got jammed and pops it a mile high over on that first base side. Will Myers makes the call. The ball never did a whole lot, stayed straight and out. Fair ball, 1 down.
Just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, I look forward to Miller time later in the ball game. That's brought to you by Miller Lite. Little beer fest on the grass out in right field. Pretty good turnout for beer and baseball. Weather's not too bad either.
Ryan Zimmerman. First pitch fastball. Ryan's done some damage against this lefty. 2 for 3 career, 3 RBIs, a walk. So the count's 1-2 with Wilson Ramos, who's hit 375 in his last 14 games on deck.
Could be wrong, but I feel like Friedrich's a first time through the lineup. Do recon, get him second time guy. Been a while since they faced him. Trying to see what kind of stuff he has, see how deep he can go in the count early. And then next time up, you have a really good idea. You watch a guy on video all you want, but they're seeing him right now, and we've seen them do that real well this year.
Yeah, Murphy aggressive. He was swinging first pitch. Zimmerman then took 2 fastball strikes. And he tried to get him inside with an off-speed pitch. Good take by Ryan. The count's 2-2.
It's in.
Nothing doing.
It's a pretty good slider. I mean, those are balls. They are in, but I mean, that's his pitch, right? His best secondary pitch. Those are good takes by Ryan. Real good takes.
Now it's 3-2 with 1 out. And Ryan Zimmerman, after 0-2, works a walk. Only the 16th time all year he's walked. And here's Ramos last night.
Buffalo Tater, the other way, number 11 on the year. It's the 9th time the Nats have gone back-to-back home runs, and the Buffalo responsible for 4 of those. He's in on 4 of them. Washington, D.C. Lexus dealers are donating $250 to the Children's National Health System for every home run a Nats player hits this season. So keep them coming. It's for a wonderful cause. Lexus, the pursuit of perfection.
So Wilson Ramos, 192 official at-bats. And for the first time this year, he appears on the NL stat sheet. So he's there in slugging percentage. 5th on that list. 2nd behind Murphy in average with 339. A thoughtful Daniel Murphy. Look at this. 110-point improvement. And last year, in just 109 games, 475 at bats, he hit 15 homers and drove in a career high 68.
And Dusty said, if he isn't an all-star, there's something wrong with the voting today. And we agree.
On the outside edge, 1-2.
There you go. Vote for him. All-star game, Buffalo.
Now that's a split screen.
That is.
1-2 pitch. Welcome to Petco Park. For those of you watching the Orioles tonight, and look out, with Baltimore and Boston losing and Toronto winning, three teams are within 1 game atop the AL East.
Do you start Ryan Zimmerman here? Wilson Ramos has been known to hit into some double plays. He's making contact more frequent than he ever has. And you got a strike thrower on the mound. Let's see what Dusty Baker decides right here.
Yeah, Ramos striking out only 15 times all year. Runner is going, and that works out perfectly, doesn't it? Out to center. Zimmerman to third. And the Nats have a corner situation with one out, as Wilson Ramos is now over .340 with the batting average.
Great call by Dusty Baker. Great execution. Chris Heisey improves on the bench, and there goes the no-hitter Buffalo style from San Diego, and he's going to be back. Look at him stay on that nasty slider from Friedrich. Got inside of it. Didn't roll over and hit it to third base. Fought it back up the middle, a lot like Matt Kemp's swing, and the Nats in business trying to answer here. First and third, one out for Anthony Rendon.
Well, last night the Padres got 2 in the first. Nats got a run in the second. 3 more in the third. And the Padres made it close a couple of times, but Washington never looked back. Rendon a homer, part of that barrage last night. And Bob Henley had to skip out of the way as he really pulled that one foul.
Still moved down there, Bob Henley. Look at him. Do a little dance.
It's a good thing when your third base coach is one of the busiest coaches in baseball for about a month and a half. Rendon 300 last 32 games, 19 RBIs. That's inside. 10 doubles, 5 homers, 17 walks during that time. And the rest of the numbers to go with it. 0 for 1 career with a walk against Friedrich.
Pretty good pitch. Might have buckled Carlos Torres. Big curveball. Did it come back? No. Anthony will take that.
Two-one coming. Rendon to center. Plenty deep to score Ryan Zimmerman. Wilson Ramos is going to tag and then stop. Just like that, the Nats have the answer. Ryan Zimmerman goes airborne and lands on home plate in a 1-1 game. Anthony Rendon, RBI number 25.
I mean, raise your hand if you like that. That's good baseball, folks. Ryan Zimmerman walks. Bob raised his hand. I saw it. Dan's raising his hand down there in the dugout. Then a borderline modified hit and run. 3-2. They start Zimmerman. Wilson Ramos with the hit, first and third. Then Anthony Rendon goes sac fly for a manufactured run to tie this game. Nicely done.
Danny Espinosa right-handed this year, 182, but from this side of the plate lately, much more damage. Overall, 2 for 4 career with a walk against Friedrich. Month of June over 280. 5 of his 11 homers. 7 of his 27 batted in.
Last 8 games, look at that. 10 for 28, 3 taters, 4 RBI, 9 runs. Stay hot, Danny.
Espinosa, and that ball hit the pitcher and ricocheted right to Ryan Schimpf. And it almost got Sam Holbrook, the umpire, on the way. Bad luck and a hard hit ball. Ramos, the key in a scoring inning.
Was asked the other day, what's been the most pleasant surprise on his ballpark or on his ball club so far this season? And his answer was Joe Ross. And Mike Maddox has been similarly impressed with what Joe Ross has brought this season in the 2 months that he's been able to watch the right-hander. He's especially been impressed, he told me today, with the poise that Ross has shown on the mound. And I asked Maddox how that poise shows itself. He said he sees it in how Ross controls the pace of the game. He doesn't let things speed up on him when he gets in trouble. He's able to remain calm and find a way to get out of the jam. And Maddox said something that I told him that we've noticed in Ross from his very first big league start, and that's that the righty seems a lot older and more experienced on the mound than he actually is. Both Mike Maddox and Dusty Baker only a couple months now of seeing Joe Ross in regular season action, and they love what they've seen.
Yeah, heady stuff for a 23-year-old right-hander. In fact, he just turned 23. So that's Dan with our Coons.com sideline report. Over 2 million vehicles sold and counting. Former Nat farmhand who's done plenty of damage against our ball club over the years. Derek Norris is the hitter.
But you say things like polished, mature. What does that mean with the pitcher? It's mound presence, body language. You don't know if he's throwing a 2-hit shutout or he's, getting knocked around. In Chicago, when he couldn't throw a strike, he's the same guy you're looking at right now. And that's what Mike Maddox is talking about. Usually for a young pitcher, first go around the big leagues, stuff starts to go south behind you. You can tell. You can see the guy's body. Like, there's some guys that have been in the league for 6-7 years that you can tell. But Joe Ross, 23, you never know. That's something you really can't teach. And maybe that's because he has an older brother that's been through it and taught him the right way.
Norris unable to catch up, and the former Nats draft choice strikes out. That's 2 in a row for Ross. That's how the bottom of the second gets underway. Nissan tracks it.
And why is that important? If you're at home right now, why is that a big deal? Because if I'm hitting against a guy and I see him drop his shoulders, or I see him drop his head, or I see him rattled, that's advantage me. I don't care what kind of stuff he's got. You're looking for any kind of advantage you can get as a hitter. And if I look out there and see him rattled, I know I got a chance.
Here's Ryan Schimpf. He's first pitch swinging. That one up into the twilight and out of play. Schimpf, after getting a double in his first big league at bat, now over his last 9. Playing in his 4th ball game in the big leagues. Native of New Orleans, played at LSU.
And Ross trying to run that fastball back. It just stayed inside. Thought it was a fastball, and it was anything but.
So
that was nasty.
That slider a little different from the one we showed you earlier. That one had tilt to it, meaning it went not just in, but down too. So a 2-plane break on that one.
And a 1-2 with 1 out. Drilled into left center. Worth has to go get it. It'll go to the wall. Schimpf on his way to second. Thinking 3 until the Nats stop him. And Ryan Schimpf has his second big league hit. And now they're both 2 baggers.
Pretty nice swing here by Schimpf. Just letting that ball travel, backing it up. Pretty fast outfield here at Petco. That ball didn't slow down a bit. He was thinking about 3.
Second double this year, end of his career. And here's Alexei Ramirez. Padres signed him to a 1-year free agent deal with a mutual option for next year after he hit .249 for the White Sox. 8 years with Chicago and a .273 batting average, 109 home runs. He's made 7 errors this year. And good slider in the dirt, picked up by Ramos, a swing and a miss. Now an 0-2 count. Ramirez, who's 34, played 6 years in Cuba before he made it to the big leagues. His skipper Andy Green watching here.
Go ahead, our mic. Did you hear it?
You got a microphone right on the end of the screen there near the Nats dugout.
Smoked it. You
Right
didn't hear
down
it.
there.
My left ear sure heard it. Yeah, right there. Thing hanging off. Yep, that's it.
Still moving.
It's broke. Alexi, you're going to have to pay for that.
And the 0-2. Slow roller to third. Rendon on the charge. And he got rid of it in a hurry. Ramirez at 34, really quick down the line. 2 down.
I didn't think I'd ever see anybody as good or maybe even better than Ryan at these. Is that blasphemous to say? I have to ask Ryan. But he was the best I had seen with Adrian Beltre at the slow roller on the run. But Anthony Rendon, the more you watch him, he is really, really good at that play.
Yeah, you need to clear that with
I do.
Zim before you go on the record with that one.
I'll ask him
And
tomorrow.
Ryan would humbly say, hey, I'm at first base right now, and I love the guy across the diamond from me. So here's Friedrich, 2 for 14. A couple of RBIs this year. He has 5 career hits. Left-handed pitcher, right-handed batter.
But the fact that I think about Ryan every time I see that play, whether it's Anthony or whoever, is a big compliment to him, right?
Sure.
I mean, you think about Ryan Zimmerman, every time you see a third baseman field off the left, throw off the right on the run.
Ooh, baby, that thing was riding up and in. Yeah, about once out of every 15 games, I still write Ryan in the wrong position on my scorebook defensive page. And that ball had some hair on it, up and in.
It literally almost had some hair on it.
Yeah. Then the slider down and away. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Did he hurt himself on that swing?
Lots of strikes. And he goes for the strikeout. So Joe Ross, 2 Ks in the second, 3 in the game. He'll lead off in the top of the third. Game 2 in San Diego. It's all knotted at 1. Diego. 1-1 ball game. We're calling all Hokies and Wahoos Wednesday the 29th. Second annual College Rivalry Day. Purchase a special ticket, enjoy pregame activities, and get a reusable Nats acrylic cup in your school's colors. The Nats, you can cheer them on together as they take on the Mets. Visit nationals.com/College Rivalry Day. Tickets.
Red sky at night, sailor's delight. Supposed to be what, 90-something here tomorrow?
Wow. Yeah, warming up definitely.
Close to 100 on Monday, mid-90s on Sunday for the day game.
Joe Ross this year 5 for 25 in his career, 8 for 52. 32 pitches, 19 strikes, first 2 innings. For Christian Friedrich, Joe Ross 29 pitches, 24 strikes. It's a good take. Friedrich 6'4", 215. Just a couple of weeks from his 29th birthday. This went out to the shortstop, Alexei Ramirez, for the first down. Next 5. It'll take us through this series and through the Dodgers series. So tomorrow it's Max Scherzer here against 25-year-old Colin Ray. And then on Sunday, Gio and 27-year-old Drew Pomeranz, before we get ready for a Strasburg and Kershaw matchup. Dodger Stadium Monday night. 3 night games. Then the Nats will fly to Milwaukee all night, have a day off Thursday. Michael A. Taylor went up hacking early in the count first time and eventually hit a fly ball to left. First time through the order, the Nationals go 1 for 7 with a walk and a sac fly. Ramos the only hit.
That little kid in the blue sweatshirt just touched Jason Worth's bat. He reached out and let him touch it.
Okay.
I mean, he's really interacting with the kids. It's been fun to see.
Taylor to right. It'll back up Matt Kemp short of the track. 2 outs.
Yeah, that kid right there on the left, the Nike sweatshirt. See if he's got a hit in him.
First time up, Friedrich got Jason off the end of the bat on a roller to second. So 14 for 33 coming into this one tonight. One, trying to keep the inning alive for Bryce Harper. Breaking ball. Oh my goodness. Jason Worth and the kids aboard with 2 outs. Throwing them baseballs. You name it, he's doing it with the youngsters. And now Jason Worth 15 for his last 35.
Well, it's the baseball god that's karma. He threw the kid the ball at home, had a walk and then a walk-off. Last night he gave a kid a ball, base hit. Tonight he lets a kid touch his bat, knock. Fan-friendly Jason Worth. Look at, I'm on TV, they're talking about me. I just got Jason Worth a base hit.
Calling his agent. First time up, Friedrich threw a couple of pitches on which Bryce took sort of different swings. One a foul ball, then he really slowed his bat down on a comebacker.
You know who's a big fan of Bryce Harper? That guy right there, Kevin Mitchell, 1989 NL MVP, 47 and 125.
Oh, did he hit?
And he's friends with Dusty, obviously.
Harper, line drive, too far for Schimpf on the shift. And now Bryce Harper has his 3rd hit of this series.
So Dusty was Kevin Mitchell's hitting coach in San Francisco. We were talking to Dusty's office, and Kevin watches all the games because he's a fan of the Nats. Now he's a fan of Bryce Harper's. And he was saying the same thing we were saying. As soon as he commits to driving the ball to left field, the hits will come to right. And he was really impressed with Bryce's home run swing last night. And he's been noting the balance thing. He was talking about it today. But Kevin Mitchell, if you never saw him play, he was the guy that made the barehanded catch for the Giants, but more importantly was the MVP with 47 home runs in '89. So one MVP to another MVP, really kind of watching his swing, honing in on it, and loves how he plays.
Now the Nats threatening to take the lead here in the top of the 3rd with a pair of 2-out hits. So Bryce has hit safely now 9 of his last 12 games. Murphy, right center. That ball's on the ground. The Nats have the lead, and Harper's going to score as well. Daniel Murphy, RBIs number 43 and 44, and it's 3-1 Washington. 2-out Lightning by the numbers 2, 3, and 4 hitters.
Hits Murphy, does it again. So why does this score 2 runs? Well, number one, he hit the tar out of it, but watch Matt Kemp. He's thinking, I'm going to catch this, so he takes a flat route to the ball. And as soon as he realizes he can't catch it, now he's too close to the baseball. He doesn't take an angle to cut it off. That enables Bryce Harper to score from first. So instead of making the 3rd out and thinking I can get there, once he realized the ball got by him, Daniel Murphy, 19th double of the season. 2-out Lightning, like you said, single, double, 3-1.
Murphy's 33rd extra base hit. And with 44 RBIs, he's back in the top 10 in the league. Here's Ryan Zimmerman. He walked and scored first time. Jason Worth keeps the inning alive. Harper gashes one to right, and Murphy drives both of them in. And by the way, 2nd time around the order, as you alluded to earlier. Doing their homework first time through, the Nats are 3 for 4. Zimmerman to left.
A 4-run inning and the Nats lead 5-1 on Zimmerman's 10th of the year.
Please give me the hit speed on that one. Did you hear the wah? Jose Lobaton standing guard, helmet taker offer guy. So you had a feeling they haven't seen Christian Friedrich in a long time. They felt him out first time through. They did a lot of recon, gathered info. Second time through, it's a laser show, folks. Even Michael Taylor smoked that ball. 108, 421 feet.
That one slammed off the second level of the Western Metal Supply Company. And don't sleep on back-to-backs here with Ramos. You mentioned earlier he's been involved in 4, the Nats 9 this year, including 1 last night when he followed Harper.
That little kid's a 2-out rally.
1-0 pitch.
Way to go, dude. You didn't just have 1 hit in you. You have 4, a home run, a double. Don't move. Same seats. Those are the good ones, too, by the way.
2-1. I'd like, or 3-0, pardon me. I'd like to know how kids get those seats.
Well, I mean,
when I was that age, I was in the last row of the upper deck.
The adult that's sitting with him looks like he's related to Jason Worth. I don't know. Maybe that's why he let the kid judge his back. Oh, I got to lock it in. That's bad.
Ballpark buzzing. 4 runs on 4 straight hits with 2 outs. 3-1 to Ramos. Look out here if it's a strike. He'll chop it left side. Solarte knows he has time. And a long inning for the Padres that looked like it might be a 1-2-3 comes to an end. Worth the single, Harper a single, Murphy the double to the gap, and Ryan Zimmerman, as well as he's hit a ball in his career. Look at that baby slam off the second level of the old building in left field. Uses his roster back on display here tonight. Murphy has last night off. Ryan Zimmerman has last night off. And all they do their second time up is combine to drive in 4 runs.
There's a lot to be said for rest and being fresh and not beat up. And I think you'll see this really play out in September.
Yeah, if it's working now, wait till then, huh?
Yeah.
So to the bottom of the 3rd, Joe Ross, a breaking ball loaded John Jay. Not about to get a fastball first pitch this time after he hit one off the center field wall to start the game for the Pods. John Jay is locked in. Murphy knocks it down. Plenty of time to make that play.
slow it down, pick it up, throw him out.
So the Padres, most pitches anybody has seen more than 4 in any individual AB tonight. Will Myers is next. It's a great number, guys. Good trending to start the game. As FP said earlier, they know he's going to be around the plate. Will Myers, bouncing ball to Murphy. It was a good at bat. Put Jay on third base with 1 out. 2 innings ago, then Matt Kemp drove him in with a single. Left side, Rendon picks it. 2 quick outs.
Ladies, it's all about you Thursday, June 30th. Nats celebrating ladies night. You get that scarf there on the right. With a special ticket, you can enjoy pregame activities, including trivia. And if that doesn't get you, a player appearance, DJ, fashion show, tailgate games, and a visit from the racing presidents. To purchase your special ticket, visit nationals.com/ladiesnight.
Seven of the last 8 now for Joe Ross. And he takes on Matt Kemp with 2 outs, bases empty. Matt Kemp, 46th RBI. Single up the middle last time. Kemp now 31 years of age. Came over here in a deal December 18th, 14th for Tim Fedorovich. Catcher Yasmani Grandal also went to LA.
There he is, Fred Flintstone. Yabba dabba doo.
That's our clergy you're talking about.
Yabba dabba doo. And that is a horrible do, by the way. You got a serious bald spot.
1 hopper to Rendon. So Joe Ross gets a big lead. 8-pitch inning. He puts his guys right back in the dugout, puts his opponent right back on the mound. The RAV4 Hybrid all-wheel drive and unexpected performance. Visit buyatoyota.com. Tonight, gorgeous evening in San Diego, 74 at game time. And the Nats 5-5-0, 1-3-0 for the Padres. And here come the Washington bats again. Rendon, Espinoza, Ross, top 4. Joe Ross, by the way, suddenly averaging just 12 pitches per inning. Anthony Rendon, sac fly, center field first time. Got the job done to tie the game. Then the heart of the order got it really big the next inning. This one into right. Long way to go for a couple of guys. And Matt Kemp makes a last-second adjustment to make that grab. See a little extra skip in his step now that he's been healthy for a while.
I'm not seeing that, Carp. I got to disagree with you. He's not running the way he used to. I mean, when he was in center field for the Dodgers, he covered a lot of ground. That ball that was hitting the gap he didn't get to, and that ball was in the air for a long time, and he barely got there. So,
well, I wasn't talking about his speed. I'm talking about the way he's playing the game right now.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's always fun to watch.
I see a lot of smiles. I see a lot of energy. Yeah, there's no doubt he's lost a couple of steps.
He has.
Played center field a lot of years up at Dodger Stadium.
He's bigger than he used to be.
Yeah.
Still hit, though.
Hot shot. Solarte. 2 outs. Next up is Joe Ross. Situation where the pitcher might take a couple of pitches to help himself get a breather. Friedrich had to come right back out when his guys went up hacking. So after giving up 4 runs, his guys took 8 swings. He's back on the mound, and now he's got the first 2 very quickly. Ross, 5 hits this year.
The Padres broadcasters were asking me, what should I know about Joe Ross that I don't? I said he can hit. He give you a good at bat.
Yeah.
Dusty Baker uses him as a pinch hitter. He can run.
Yeah. He's pinch hit. He's pinch run for this ball club. It's like having a 14th position player on a night he's not pitching. And reaching for that one. And so the pitchers trade very quick innings. Ross bottom 3, Friedrich top 4. It's all Nats. 5-1. And may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the expressed written consent of the Washington Nationals. That was the San Diego Convention Center right in front of you there. Now the Western Metal Supply Company, part of the ballpark here. And we have our Navy Federal Union troop recognition. Proudly serving the armed forces and their families for over 80 years. Federally insured by NCUA.
It's a big couple.
They should be on Kiss Cam every night.
They're going to have tall kids.
A lot of people taking their pictures. Great shot from post-war celebrations, decades past.
Is that the famous picture in Life magazine, was it?
Yeah, I think it
on
is.
The cover?
It was New York City, right? Solarte. Right down the middle from Joe Ross, bottom of the 4th.
I'm just guessing, I don't know.
Bouncing ball to Danny Espinosa first time.
who again is stationed toward the middle of the infield.
Oh, good guess, huh?
Yeah, after World War II, the sailor getting his kiss.
Kissing sailor on the cover of Life.
A lot of topspin on that ball, and Ryan Zimmerman comes and gets it before it could bounce a second time. Joe Ross, 4 consecutive ground ball outs and 5 of the last 6 batters. When you have inside, you know how to handle your finances with confidence. Brought to you by PNC Bank, for the achiever in you. So now Lucas Giolito, last 10 starts, 7 decisions, ERA looking good. A lot fewer hits than innings, and the strikeouts a lot more than innings. Well done.
5-2 with a 2.8. That's good. Probably finish 25-2 with a 1.7.
Boy, Joe Ross has that slider going tonight.
Get called up in September. Maybe sooner. First pitch 107 miles an hour.
First 3 innings, 37 pitches, 29 strikes.
Really relying on the slider. Did you see that?
Yeah.
More than his fastball tonight. Threw the slider 42% of the time his last start against the Phillies, and tonight over half. I haven't seen too many changeups in there to make that more.
But that's good, right? Not showing him everything first time and a half around. 2-2 and another great slider for the strikeout. Ross, 4 Ks, Upton twice. 2 outs, 4th inning. Mercedes-Benz tries to track it.
This is the first Padre hitter that's seen more than 4 pitches. And there it was, a 5-pitch strikeout to Justin Melvin Upton Jr.
Derek Norris is next.
BJ Melvin Upton Jr. Shake yourself.
Yeah, now you're getting me all confused.
Yeah.
I had just gotten Melvin down.
Hey, I got the Life magazine cover right. I'm over here just cherishing the victory. Players' names, what?
Norris drafted in the 4th round by the Nationals 9 years ago. And the Nats traded him with Tommy Malone and Brad Peacock and A.J. Cole December 23rd of 2011 for Sunday starter Gio Gonzalez.
And he likes to hit up Gio, if I remember right. It's so weird.
Yeah, he hit a 3-0 pitch, a couple of home runs against Gio.
Both on 3-0.
In Oakland a couple of years ago.
Yeah, both on 3-0 pitches.
Yeah. And that's where Norris gets his 3 homers, 12 RBIs in 9 previous career games against the Nats, at least most of it. Hit 246 for Oakland in 13, 270 in 14, 250 here last year after being involved in a 4-player deal and some cash changing hands. Look out, Glenn Hoffman. Uncatchable.
Tough play.
So Norris now 26 years of age. He had signed a letter of intent with Wichita State before Nat scout Ryan Fox signed him back in 07. Joe holds on too long.
Good take.
3-2. Payoff pitch with 2 outs. Front door slider, and look out.
A lot of wiggle in that glove right there.
No, yes.
So he shook to the high fastball and blows away Derek Norris. 11 of the last 12, including 8 in a row for Joe Ross now.
Line moving with 2 outs in the third. First Jason Worth knock. Bryce Harper laser to right. Daniel Murphy, look at the body language. Get in there. It does. Bryce Harper scores all the way from first base. And then how about a home run from Ryan? Hit it here. He almost hit the target. But it was his 10th home run of the year, and everybody was digging it. Even this guy. Jason Worth's brother was loving the taters in the laser show with 2 outs.
Look at Jock Jones. They were having air guitar on the video board here, playing Smoke on the Water.
I want to party with that dude.
Yeah, well,
he's going to need a neck
just
brace.
be here for the game tomorrow. Top of the 5th, here's Taylor.
See, well, I think that kid's work is done.
Taylor, fly ball to left, fly ball to right, 0 for 2. Friedrich's been trying to get strikes in there all night long. Hasn't been able to get those from Carlos Torres, the umpire, yet. Here we go.
There we go. Touch my bat again. Oh, it was the other kid. No, it was that guy too.
Yeah.
All right. Ooh, that might be a double. Let's see. Don't you love that, though? I mean, that's what baseball's about, interacting with fans, especially kids. Something like that you remember the rest of your life, and I love seeing stuff like that. It gets me fired up.
When those guys are broadcasting Padre games 35 years from now, they'll be talking about tonight.
Maybe they'll be playing.
1-2 pitch. Taylor, that was a swing and a miss. It took Norris a while to find it. Took Michael a while to realize that he had not touched the ball, and cost him a bag at first. Now, we talked about this before. It's a tricky play for a hitter, because if you take off, you're admitting you swung and missed.
Well, I think initially I thought he was, not going to go because he thought he fouled it off, but his first step was toward the dugout, so he knew he swung and missed and there was no foul tip. He just didn't know where the ball was, and I think that was Jason Worth you heard in the background saying go, 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 go.
Yeah. Worth takes a strike. He's 1 for 2 tonight. And Jason Worth in the series 3 for 7.
Yeah, Dan's pointing out to remember in St. Louis when Jason gave his bat to those little girls in the front row. had a nice night in St. Louis. Maybe that's where this whole thing started. Or maybe he's been doing it his whole career and we just finally noticed. Either way, I love it.
Two-one pitch with one out. Worth off speed, and there goes another hit. Is he going to go for two? Upton Jr. has 6 outfield assists this year. Air-mailed the throw, but Worth was going back. And now Jason Worth is 4 for 8 in this series.
I mean, how good is this? I hope you stayed up and saw this whole thing with Jason Worth and the kids. I thought he had the double too. Yeah, that's my hit. I touched his bat. Last time he got a single, this time another single. He's probably going to take me to Los Angeles and leave me some tickets. Jason Worth is playing like he's 25.
So Bryce now up to 2.57 on his batting average. So is Worth. So Worth, Harper, Murphy, and Zimmerman on base 6 times tonight.
That's why he squared around. Look at that.
With 1 strike, would he do it again?
Just bunt the daylights out of it.
Inside the numbers from Jeep Inside Bryce. Before tonight, 10 of 15 at Petco Park. On base percentage, ridiculously over 700. 9 RBIs with the 3 homers and an on base percentage plus slugging of an unheard of over 2 points. 3 RBIs last night, 2-run homer and a base hit and a base on balls. Now it's 0-2, target way out there, and Harper taps it to the pitcher. So the double play puts an end to the top of the 5th inning. We'll see Murphy and Zimmerman next time around in a 5-1 game.
Tonight, 5-1 as we go to the bottom of the 5th. Time for some Kia in the driver's seat. And we show you some Joe Ross strikeouts. After giving up a leadoff double to John Jay, he has been locked in, folks. The fastball slider combination, as good as we've seen it this year. The slider is late. Tough to pick up the rotation, it seems like, for right-handed hitters. And the fastball jumping out of his hand. Dominated.
Still nothing in the air as far as outs So 2 strikeouts. Before that, 4 ground ball outs. 5 Ks on the night. Ground ball out total is at 7. He's retired. Boy, the numbers keep on coming. 8 in a row and 11 of 12. Here's the last guy to reach base. Ryan Schimpf. 7, 8, and 9 for the Padres. Then he goes 3-0.
How many Padres right now wearing these jerseys you think could name 2 or 3 guys from the '84 team that went to the NLCS and won it?
Yeah.
My point is, I was talking to Kevin Mitchell about this today, and you know, I feel like there's a certain responsibility as a player if you played for an organization that has history to know some of that history, to know what has preceded you and why you're wearing that uniform. And maybe it's more. Maybe there's 5, 6, 10 guys down there that could reel off Carmelo Martinez, Eric Schau, Luis Salazar, Steve Garvey, Kurt Bavacqua. I mean, maybe they could. But I wonder.
That team kept the Cubs out of the World Series.
For some reason, that's important to me. I don't know why.
No, I totally agree with you.
If you play for the Cardinals, the Padres, the Dodgers, teams that have a lot of history, I feel like there's a certain responsibility to know that history as a player. At least some of it. The basics, the Wikipedia page, if you will.
Joe Ross went to a breaking ball there on a long count and walked Schimpf. That's his first base on balls tonight. Next up is Alexei Ramirez.
Like, you don't have to know stats or their record, but I feel like it's some of the prominent players from teams past that should be part of, I don't know. Maybe I'm just sounding really old right now.
We bid you a nice Saturday morning back home.
Happy tomorrow. We're still in yesterday.
From San Diego, where the Nats lead 5-1, second game of this 4-game series. Will be a half hour earlier tomorrow night. Padres are starting some of their home games later than they ever have before. And then a 1 Sunday afternoon game at 1:40 local time. One ball, 1 strike to Ramirez. Rendon made a good play on him at the hot corner, first time up. Line drive to right. Harper has to take it on a hop. Tried to get the force play at second. Anthony Rendon, a good job of backing up the play. So when you're way ahead, you don't want the bottom of the order to hurt you, but Friedrich has a chance here to move up a couple of runners.
Schimpf had to hold to see if it would drop, but he can run well. I watched his double first time up. He's got good speed. Bryce with an aggressive play. Thought about coming all the way in and trying to slide and catch that, but with a 4-run lead, thought better of it. Didn't want to open the floodgates here, so now we'll see if Christian Friedrich is a good bunter.
1 sacrifice bunt career, none this year. He bounce one off the plate. Play at third. Ramos does it well. Rendon to first, and the pitcher beats it out. But the Nats get the lead runner. Wilson Ramos playing some kind of baseball right now.
He is. Nice play by Wilson Ramos. I was equally impressed with the flat-footed sidearm throw by Anthony Rendon on the money to Daniel Murphy at first. And watch Murphy after he catches it show the ball to the runner at second base. It's kind of funny. Watch this. He catches it. Watch him show the ball between his legs. Good play by Ramos. Look at the flip throw. The arm strength. Impressive.
Not a bad stretch by Murphy there either.
No, he's played first.
He has. Here's John Jay, who's hit 2 bullets tonight. John Jay hit .210 in St. Louis last year. He was hurt. He had left wrist tendonitis, re-hurt the wrist in July. Just a lost season for him. Then he came over here in a trade for Jed Jerko last December.
Our microphone took another hit.
Don't forget about those P-Nets down at Fitzner Stadium. So their 5-game homestand continues. Got a Stein giveaway, fireworks, scout night tomorrow. Star Wars jersey auction on Sunday the 19th. Check them out, 703-590-2311 or PotomacNationals.com. John Jay's had a couple of 300 seasons in the majors. In 12 he hit .305, .303 2 years ago. He was a 3-time All-American at the U, home state of Florida. And an 0-2 with 1 out.
When I think of John Jay, I think of him making crazy plays in center field in the playoffs for the Cardinals that he never made all year against the Nats. I mean, he's a good defensive outfielder, but he made some plays in the playoffs against the Nats in 12 that were just, are you serious?
Looks like it's impossible to throw the ball by him at the moment. Joe Ross and the Nats with a 5-1 lead here, bottom of the 5th. The number 7 and 8 hitters got something going. Pitcher failing to sacrifice. Jay has hit into 3 double plays this year, but you have to be fast. It's got to be well hit at somebody.
He's in swing mode, that's for sure. In an 0-2 count, Joe Ross has the luxury of expanding here to see if he'll go with him. Fastball up is hard to lay off of if you're in swing mode as a hitter. All 7 pitches Jay's seen has been fouled off in this at bat.
Busted his bat, drops it into right. Runner coming home. Harper will not throw, and it's a 5-2 game. John Jay, 23rd RBI.
Some cut action on that fastball. Bat died a hero for Jay. He was not letting Wilson Ramos catch a baseball. He was determined to swing at everything, and his 24th hit in the month of June. That's the most in the big leagues.
This may be hard to believe for a guy who bats leadoff, but only Steven Piscotty and Odubel Herrera have higher batting averages with runners in scoring position. John Jay up around 415 with that hit. And the Padres suddenly have the tying run in the batter's box in Will Myers. That leadoff walk led to some rough stuff here in the 5th inning, and now Joe has to get to work. Myers 0 for 2 with a couple of ground balls.
Joe Ross might have got away with one right there to Will Myers.
Didn't do a whole lot, did it?
Strike one, though. Looking fastball. He got the slider. It acted more like a changeup.
Threw him another breaking ball. And Myers unable to pull the trigger behind 0-2.
One guy swinging at everything, the next guy swinging at nothing. Start one of those sliders on the outer half and break it off the plate away. You got a real good chance of striking him out.
Target in. Boy, that ball's out over the plate. And Harper's going to catch it. Tagging at second is Friedrich, and there are 2 outs in the inning. So here comes Matt Kemp.
I liked what Wilson Ramos wanted to do right there. He wanted to bury that fastball in off the plate to get back to the slider I was talking about. Got some plate.
Kemp 1 for 2, RBI single tonight. 46 runs batted in. That's a great heater.
That's the one he tried to throw Matt Kemp his first time up when he singled up the middle. He just missed a little bit and Kemp got inside of it. And you could see how uncomfortable he was even just taking that pitch.
Yeah, Nissan tracking a perfect fastball. There's the slider. So one pitch sets up the other. Now what does he have?
Textbook, man. Fastball in, slider away. That's the book we've been talking about for 2 days with Matt Kemp. Go fastball in again. Maybe off the plate even to get back to the slider. See what they decide. Going to slider, it looks like.
Yeah, maybe time to bury one. He does. And Matt Kemp strikes out. Padres get a run, strand 2. So Joe allows them to chip away a little bit, but a good job to avoid the big inning.
Inning here at Petco Park. Ryan Zimmerman had been scuffling a bit of late heading into today. Was 2 for his last 23 entering tonight's ball game, but he had pinpointed the problem. He told me earlier today that his issue had been when he was striding, his upper body and his head were moving too much. He essentially wasn't staying over his backside enough. And Zim told me that head movement caused him to foul off fastballs that he should drive and swing at breaking balls that he should lay off. That extra movement kind of forced him to misidentify pitches. He had a good work day yesterday on his day off, was out early hitting with hitting coach Rick Shue, was able to take a few swings and kind of talk with Shue about what was working, what wasn't. And essentially, it's paid off for him, guys, that work day yesterday with that long home run in his last at-bat.
Thank you, Dan, with our Coons.com sideline report. Over 2 million vehicles sold and counting. So with Zimmerman on deck, it's Daniel Murphy.
You just think about it. If your head's moving toward the baseball and the baseball is coming at you 90+ miles an hour, you're making that velocity seem even harder because it's two moving targets going at each other. So you're not going to square up baseballs. The reason Daniel Murphy's been so successful this year is his head is frozen. It's perfectly still. He doesn't move it an inch. So if your head is moving, in essence, the ball is moving, and you're not going to hit pitches squarely. You're going to foul them off, just like Dan said.
1-1 to Murphy. High in the air to left. Upton back there, and this ball is gone. Daniel Murphy the other way for his 12th of the year. It's a 3 RBI night. And the Nats lead 6-2. The Nationals have hit 5 homers in just over a game and a half.
Daniel Murphy, this will be not the last time you play in San Diego this year.
And by the way, that's hit number 90 for Murphy. Nationals' 68th game of the year. Here comes Zimmerman, who drilled one out of here last time.
He was saying he backspinned, in so many words, that ball right there. That is hitting off the backside. That is a lot of rotation put on the baseball for it to carry that far. Daniel hits Murphy, does it again.
2 homers away from tying what he did all last year with the Mets.
Maybe we can show that swing in slow motion. I'll show you what I mean by backspin. But it's exactly what Dan was talking about, what Ryan's working on. Hitting off your backside, not jumping at the baseball.
And Ryan takes strike 3 right in there. First out, 6th inning.
So what is backspin? It's hitting the top half of the baseball and creating rotation so that the ball carries. Look at the backspin he puts on that baseball. So it's spinning one way, and you kind of pinch down on the baseball to create rotation. And when you create that rotation, the ball has a little more carry to it than it normally would. Backspinning the baseball out of here, and that's exactly what he's telling Rick Shue. Jose Lobaton standing guard doing his job, and Murph's still talking about it.
Next up is Wilson Ramos, who's 1 for 2.
This team's special, boy.
94 home runs. I was already anticipating a 3rd home run tonight. Next one will be 94. Yeah, 3 last night, 2 tonight. Ramos jammed on that one. To his left, Solarte, 2 out, 6th inning. But guess what the Nats just did? They just scored another run right after San Diego had scored one. So it's a 2-hit night for Jason Worth and Daniel Murphy. And Murphy has driven in 3 runs. He's up to 45 on the year now. Up and down the lineup night after night. Rendon hitless, but he has a sacrifice fly for his 25th run batted in.
I really enjoy watching Daniel Murphy hit, just from I can't believe how he does it standpoint on a daily basis, and not the results, just his approach and how consistent he is. and not taking one pitch off. I'm grinding out every at-bat. The way he hits flat-footed. And there's no movement in his swing, and it's all about just a throw of the bat head, a throw of the hips.
And how about this? 11 of his last 18 hits now, extra bases.
I mean, he should be the starting second baseman on the All-Star team. His at-bats are must-see TV.
Two and two now to Rendon. Took a good play by Kemp last time to keep him from having a perfect night so far. Now it's 3-2 with Danny Espinosa on deck, top six. He's aboard. 32nd walk of the year for Rendon. His on base percentage keeps on climbing, up around 340 now. Second walk issued by Christian Friedrich.
Check out the swing right here. Watch the head and how there's no movement in the head. Go ahead and roll it, guys. You talk about a frozen head. It's going nowhere. And the hips go, the barrel goes, there's no stride. It's all lower half, and the bat just kind of follows as a byproduct of what he does with his lower half, the hips.
Danny Espinosa pops one straight back out of play.
When they show those Exmos of a PGA golfer on the tee box with his driver, and you see him with the driver come all the way back and then all the way around, and his head hasn't moved an inch. That's what Daniel Murphy does in the batter's box with a 90-mile-an-hour fastball coming at. And if we show you every other hitter on the Nats ball club, their head's going to move about a foot. He's like a golfer on a tee box doing nothing with his head. What does that do? It allows you to see the baseball like a grapefruit every night. The reason everybody doesn't do it is because they can't. They can't generate enough bat speed to get the head out on 95 by just hitting flat-footed. You have to have a leg kick. You see Ben Revere and Ryan Zimmerman with the hitch, dropping their hands. It's all a rhythm like a pitcher's windup to get that barrel out there against 95. Murphy's blessed. He doesn't have to do it. Look at all the things Danny Espinosa's doing right now. That big leg kick, his hands are moving. That's all to generate power to get that barrel out to hit 95. And that's okay, because that's what 99% of hitters do. But the guys like Paul Molitor, Nomar Garciaparra, Daniel Murphy, no movement at all, that are strong enough because their legs are strong and their lower half is strong to get that barrel out on 95. So impressed with watching him play on a daily basis, as you can tell.
Espinosa pulls one. Great play, but base hit all the way as Ramirez got to it, and that'll turn over the lineup and give Joe Ross a chance to bat here in the sixth. Danny Espinosa checks in with his first knock of the series.
Well, hit a bullet his first time up off the side of the mound, had some tough luck, and now Alexei tries to rob him. But Danny Espinosa checking in with a knock, joining the hit parade, and turning the lineup over and giving Joe Ross a chance to drive in a run.
Yeah, Joe Ross still looking for his first career RBI. That's Carlos Villanueva. 1-1 pitch. On the edge.
Joe Ross is saying, I will definitely take this, thank you.
Yeah, Mercedes-Benz on the pitch track. Usually when we see one down there, it is not a called strike. Target in. And Ross fouls it. And that one got Carlos Torres.
Where'd it get him?
Oh,
I don't even want to see the end of this. Oh.
Right forearm.
Did you see all the injuries against the wall last night? Jose Bautista, JD Martinez. He broke his elbow running the wall. Bautista sprained his big toe. And how happy were you last night that Bryce Harper pulled up on that ball that was in the scoreboard that we lost? Smart play. And you're hoping that Carlos Torres is all right. That did not look good at all.
Yeah, that was not a glancing blow.
No. He's smiling.
That's Mark Rogow, the head trainer of the Padres.
That's a strike arm. Oh, look at the seams right there. See that? I used to hate when trainers did that. Right where you got hit. Did it hurt right here? And they start tapping.
Does it hurt?
Yeah,
when I
it
do
hurts
that?
right there. Why are you hitting me there? You mean right where the seam marks are? Tough dude.
Man, he deserves a great ovation after that. They may have to, if he stays in the ballgame, he may be getting ice every half inning whenever there's a break. He's going to put his mouth guard back in, his helmet back on.
Gamer.
The count's 1-2 to Joe Ross. Hopefully he can hide that right arm behind the catcher a little better. There's a base hit by Ross. Here comes Rendon. Upton's throw is in time, and Rendon is out. Norris had to cross the baseline to go get the throw, and the Nats are denied another run, at least for now.
We got to see this before we go to break, don't we? Told you that Melvin Upton Jr. could throw. That's a dart right in the money. Great athletic play by Derek Norris. Did he tag him on the way as he's picking it? Good throw. Did he get him? Ooh.
Hard to tell.
Let's see it from here. Great throw by Upton. Watch the athletic play by Norris. He's trying to tag him as he's going away. I don't think he got him. No challenge?
Looks like the Nats will not challenge, and the inning is over.
Like I said, he obviously got him.
So Anthony Rendon out at the plate, and Ross denied that first RBI.
Historical Association brings us our third bobblehead of the 2016 season, this time honoring racing president Herbert Hoover. Herbie, there he is, fist in the air on Sunday, July 3rd. First 25,000 fans, you get that thing you're seeing right there. Nats take on the Reds. For tickets, visit nationals.com.
So Murphy homers to lead off the inning, not to be forgotten in all of that. The Nats strand only their second and third runners of the night. So they have their 4-run lead back. It's Joe Ross and Yangervis Solarte, bottom 6. Fly ball to center. Well hit. Taylor going back. He's there. About 394 feet away for a long, loud first out. Padres box score. A run on 2 hits in the first inning. Kemp the RBI. Drove in John Jay. Their other run in the 5th. Jay the RBI, driving in Alexei Ramirez. Melvin Upton Jr. just racked up his 7th outfield assist of the year. Starling Marte has the most in the league, 8. Ross has struck him out twice, working him over with sliders. Joe has 6 Ks on the night. Eight ground ball outs. Two 1 and a tapper right back to the pitcher. Derek Norris with 2 outs for the Padres now. Look at the run back on that fastball. So slider, heater, 0-2.
Good rhythm going. Feeling the slider big time tonight.
Trying to win his 6th game of the year. 13th start. And a fastball up and away that didn't miss by much. Counts even 2-2. He started that right from the get-go tonight. First inning, 13 pitches, 11 strikes. Then 29 over 24. And he was off and running in the controlled department. Slider ripped down the line. It might go. Fair ball, home run. That wall in the corner is only 5 feet high, and Derek Norris hooked one right out of here. That ball was blistered.
It looked like he got a slider out over. And you talk about a low one. That's a knockdown 2-iron, folks. Derek Norris is a strong human. Just over the short fence and left. 6-3 ball game.
Yeah, that's the shortest fence in the ballpark. At 5 feet there for about 15 feet before it goes up to 7. And that thing just got out off the double doors back there. And now it's a 6-3 game. Ryan Schimpf, the hitter. He drew the leadoff walk last inning that led to the Padres run. And Joe's gone 2-0, and here comes Murphy, maybe to slow things down a bit. Padres have hit 72 homers this year, 10th in the league. Good fastball to the outside edge, 2-1. Mark McGwire's 62nd home run and his 70th home run, which you saw. You and I happened to be in the ballpark and had no idea who each other was. Both were low line drives, kind of like that. And Mark, the bench coach for the Padres, but he spends a lot of time around the cage when the guys are hitting.
I was in the dugout and I heard faintly, see. It's like, oh, it's like Cardinals guy.
That was a strange day. Ray Knight and I were actually on ESPN that day, and all we did was call McGwire's 4 at-bats. We didn't do the rest of the game. They were covering other games, and the network came to us every time he came up, and I'll be darned if he didn't hit 2 on that last day.
They did.
But that was the call. So.
Hey, why wouldn't it be?
3 balls, 2 strikes to Ryan Schimpf. And he takes another walk. No swing, says Jerry Davis. So Schimpf on for the 3rd time tonight. And he's the only man Joe Ross has walked. Mike Maddox will visit the mound with Alexei Ramirez coming up.
Just a breather. That's all this is.
Pitcher spot due up next, and big left-handed batter Brett Wallace is on deck.
Crickets in the bullpen, huh?
They're starting to scramble a little bit in the San Diego pen, and some guys getting loose right behind them in the Nats pen now. Friedrich, by the way, is at 94 pitches through 6 innings. Strike call. Ramirez base hit to right field last time. Robbed of a hit on a good play by Rendon first time. The ball was sitting up a little bit, and Ryan Zimmerman is under it. So the Padres get a run on a Norris homer. To the 7th we go. Joe Ross solid. 6-3 Nats.
Top of the 7th, Daniel Murphy, 45 RBI. Joe Ross getting it done, 95 pitches. And how about Ryan Zimmerman with the Zim bomb? Little slider down and in, pulls his hands in, gets the barrel of the baseball. Look at the head at the point of contact. And a little see you later for Ryan Zimmerman, part of that 4-run 3rd inning. That's a bunch that's
Call to the
fun.
bullpen. Yeah. So we invite you to stop by the UPS store for all your printing, copying, and other business needs, because together there's nothing we can't solve. Our UPS store, call to the bullpen, and it's 32-year-old Carlos Villanueva. 27th appearance for San Diego, 3.38 ERA, 37 strikeouts in 40 innings.
Fastball, slider, curveball change. Fastball averaging 88 on the year.
He's a strike thrower. Just 5 walks all year. Good breaking ball to Michael A. Taylor.
Jason Worth is having everybody touch his bat. He just had his look-alike touch the bat, so who knows what happens on this one.
Taylor career against Villanueva, 0 for 2. So Friedrich went 6 innings, 8 hits, 9 hits, 6 runs, walked a couple, struck out 3. One and two, lot of room up the middle. Taylor a tapper by the mound, and the race is on. He is going to beat it out, and Michael A. Taylor is 1 for 4 tonight.
Boy, you knew as soon as this got by Villanueva that it was a base hit for Taylor. Look at him getting it down the line. So an infield single for Michael Taylor. Pretty good play by Solarte to make it that close, I thought.
So his last 15 starts, he's had at least 1 base hit. So that's 19 hits over that time.
Big lead, huge lead.
Michael A. 7 for 10 this year.
He's a step past that cutout. Usually the cutout's the barometer of a big lead, especially here in San Diego, but he's a good half step past that. Ugh.
Back in standing up. Brian Knight calls him safe.
That's a big lead, folks. He was in between sliding and going back standing in.
Worth 2 straight hits. A lot of ground ball room right side. He's off and running. The throw is way off, and it's running into center field. And Taylor never picked up the ball. Looked like he was going to go to third for sure. That'll save Derek Norris an error on a bad throw. But Michael A. swipes his 8th of the year.
Well, he likes to go on the first pitch. That's his deal. And he got a big jump right there. Stole the base easily and then rolled his head to the outfield. Couldn't pick up the ball. John Jay was deep in center field. He didn't really charge this. And I thought if he found that baseball, look how far it rolls in the outfield. He could have made it to third. Good jump, though.
So here's Jason Worth looking for at least a productive out.
Worth now batting .457 over his last 10 games. That pitch way upstairs.
And his average is all the way up to .257.
How about that? On June 1st, Jason was hitting .225. That'll move the runner. That ball hit hard right by the side of the mound out to Ryan Schimpf. And Taylor's speed has him at third with 1 out.
Good at bat for the ball club, trying to get that run back and make it a 4-run lead. You're going to get some high fives in the dugouts. Dusty Baker loves that kind of baseball. That's how you hit when you're hitting second, folks. That one's for the team. Absolutely.
In this series, every time the Padres have scored, except for 2 innings, the Nats have answered with a run immediately. So right now they could make it 6 over the Mets tonight. Marlins won their ball game. Phillies lost. Infield in. Here's Harper. This can't be too comfortable for those 4 guys. And that's a fastball inside.
That's a great point by you. There's certain hitters, when you play infield in, you wish you had shin guards and a chest protector. I think Bryce Harper fits that mold.
Harper 1 for 4 career against Villanueva with a double.
He's a guy you want to play further away from, not closer.
Late swing. And it's 1-1. So Bryce, numbers solid with runners in scoring position. Looking for RBI number 42. He has 3 in this series already. And looking for his 4th hit in San Diego, in a ballpark where he has loved to hack over the years.
We see the balance on the swing for Bryce. It's still not where he wants it. And he's fallen into the first base dugout, and you know, we talked about Murphy's base and how he keeps his head still and how he's able to consistently barrel up the baseball. When Bryce Harper was locked in April, his head was still, even though he has a leg kick. And right now with the balance after his swing, I don't think it is.
Runner at third, 1 out.
I'll say that, watch him hit one on the upper deck.
Bunch of off-speed stuff here from Villanueva. Nationals trying to get their 4-run lead back. They've done it once tonight. There's a rocket into right. And Bryce Harper does make it a 4-run game. 4th RBI of the series and his 4th hit here in San Diego.
Oh, that was roasted. And Ryan Schimpf just saw his life flash before his eyes. Why did they have to come so far in? Because of the speed of Michael Taylor at third. So that dictates how close you come in as an infielder. And this ball, give me a hit speed on this. But see the balance right there. Stayed through that ball. Nice. And we've noted how Bryce makes adjustments as good as anybody in the course of an at-bat. And that was a good one. Nice piece of hit.
Suddenly Harper's RBI bat alive again with 42. He's back in the top 10 in the league, based on what some other guys do on this Friday. Here's Murphy. He's driven in 3 tonight, and he's up there early hacking.
But you hear terms all the time like they're playing good baseball. What's that mean? I mean, Ryan Zimmerman walks in the 2nd. He goes on a 3-2 pitch. Wilson Ramos hits it up the middle, 1st and 3rd. Rendon with a sac fly. Here in the 7th, Michael Taylor with an infield single. He steals 2nd. Jason Worth gets him over. Bryce gets him in. Good baseball. Fundamentally sound, doing the little things. That's why they're screaming toward 20 games over 500.
Murphy, right side, robbed by Schimpf. That's a 2nd out of the inning. Harper to 2nd. About the only way to get Murph these days. Somebody's got to make a play. Jeep takes us inside the numbers. So the Nats on the road through May 4th, 11-4. Then 4 of those 5 at Chicago. They lost 1 at Kansas City. Had a chance to sweep there, then went 0 for 4 at Wrigley, and then since then, nails. Zimmerman a walk, a homer, 2 runs scored, 2 driven in. And Ryan's over 30 RBIs now. Career against Villanueva, 5 for 14 with a run batted in. Seven runs on 11 hits. Last night, 8 runs on 9 hits. And it's just the 7th inning. Been a long night for Derek Norris behind the plate.
It's a long night for everybody when you start at 7:40. Whoever invented that start time needs to reevaluate things.
High in the air. Short center. Schimpf. Nats are done in the 7th, but they get that run back on a Taylor single, a steal, and a Bryce Harper RBI. Curly W and the interlocking SD. And it's all Nats so far this weekend. Joe Ross went out to take the mound and throw his warm-up tosses to begin the bottom of the 7th, and then Dusty came and took him out. So Joe's done after 6 solid innings, 95 pitches, 68 strikes. He'll give the Padres 3 runs on the night, and the rest is up to the bullpen. So Joe Ross will take a seat. They had announced a pinch hitter, the left-hander Wallace, and now here comes Oliver Perez to face Christian Bethancourt.
A fastball has been averaging right around 90 miles an hour. I need to find out who the Padres burned there. Was it Wallace?
That's what I'm speculating.
Yeah, that's what I think.
It was
Could have been Jankowski because he's more of a leadoff type, but they announced a hitter, and then Dusty went and made the change. So it was Amarista.
It was Amarista.
Yeah.
Okay. Swing and a foul tip.
You know, you get a game played for that. So if you have a games played incentive in your contract, you get announced as a pinch hitter.
Yeah, you're in the game.
You're in the game. It's a game played for Alexi Amarista tonight, and he didn't even play, but he's got announced. Guys will come over and give you knocks in the dugout. Go, game played. You got a game played. Way to go. Game played.
And Perez misses inside. Oliver's walked a few guys lately. So Bethancourt aboard to lead off the 7th inning.
Fill out your ballots now. What is it? Almost 1 in the morning? Get up and fill out your ballots right now. Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot. Go to nationals.com on your computer because you can't sleep. Vote up to 35 times. Vote today, vote tomorrow, which is both days right now. We're in yesterday, you're in tomorrow. Go to nationals.com/vote.
I'm as confused as I ever have been since the 80s when Uriah Heep saying today is only yesterday's tomorrow.
Yeah. Everybody in DC's in the future. They know what John Jay is about to do.
Can I write down 463?
Do it.
So Oliver Perez walking Bethancourt, first time they'd faced each other. John Jay is 1-for-1 career against Oliver. That guy just can't miss right now. So he's going to double and put runners at second and third with nobody out. John Jay is a triple short of this. Well, he got a couple of doubles, nearly a triple there, and he was almost a home run shy of the cycle. Just can't throw the ball by him right now.
Here comes Dusty. And he's not taking any chances. The Padres are not going away.
So a walk and a double. Wheels turning, and there's still a long way to go tonight.
mobile. We take you around the big leagues, and Ichiro is getting closer. I mean, look at his batting average, 349. So he is 21 hits away. Jake Arrieta, 1.74 ERA. Put that together with his run support, and he should be just about unbeaten. David Ortiz now, history, 521st home run, tying the great Ted Williams, Willie McCovey, and the big hurt, Frank Thomas.
And all the talk about Ichiro and adding his hits with his hits in Japan and catching Pete Rose. Sorry, folks, I'm not buying that. He didn't have to face Max Scherzer in Japan.
And Clayton Kershaw. So here's Blake Trinan, who had a long inning here last night in the 7th. Gave up a hit, a walk, 2 strikeouts, 20 pitches, 12 strikes. Blake needs some clean innings here, and he'll take on Will Myers.
Well, you have a 4-run lead, so this is about damage control right now for Blake Trinan.
He walked Myers last night. And that slider can be deadly. When he comes in during an inning, he's been perfect.
If that stays 100%, we got a story.
So the Nats lead 7-3, but 2 on, nobody out in the 7th. And another nasty slider. Nissan will track it.
First one went straight down. This one went down and away. Do you even mess with a fastball if you're Blake Trinan after those 2 swings and pitches?
Well, if you want a slider, you don't want to throw it anywhere near for a strike, right?
Right.
He'll go with it, and Ramos able to block it on the appeal. No swing, says Brian Knight. So Bethancourt walked to lead off the inning. And then the double by John Jay going the other way. Pitch up, didn't hit it that hard. A run scores, the Nats get an out, and it's now 7-4. That run charged by Oliver Perez, who's also responsible for John Jay at third base.
Well, that's a good at-bat by Will Myers, especially in a 2-strike count, especially after he missed the first 2 sliders by a mile. Good 2-strike approach. He gets 1 run in, he gets 1 runner over. So a productive out and a nice at-bat.
Kemp singled against Blake Trinan last night.
Well, if Blake was paying attention to that last at-bat with Joe Ross, it was sinkers in, sliders away. And the guy catching the baseball definitely was.
Shift on, 3 Nats on the left side of the infield. Target in. That ball hooking foul, fortunately.
You go 3-2 slider right here. Looks like the fastball command might be a little bit off, and he's thrown the slider for strikes. I don't even know if he wants to throw that slider for a strike.
And Kemp spoils a pretty good pitch.
Man, that was a good slider.
Three-two with one out. And that's going to hurt.
Well, he waited as long as he could to see if it was going to break, and by the time he committed, he realized it wasn't. Pretty good battle going on right here.
So Blake Treinen for the second night in a row walks a batter. Now the tying runs in the batter's box. Sammy Solis getting ready. Boy, Dusty must be looking at the scoreboard and wondering how long it's going to take to get the final 9 outs. The Nats have one of those. 3 base runners in the inning on 2 walks by the bullpen. And it'll be Jan Hervis Solarte, who's 0 for 3 tonight and 0 for 8 in the series.
I'm sure Mike Maddox said something to the effect of, get a ground ball, let your defense work behind you, turn a double play right here, and we'll go ahead.
Last night, Solarte hit a screamer to center field that Ben Revere caught while facing Blake.
Sinker down the zone as a pitch right here. Slider too. Just want something bottom of the strike zone. Get that ground ball. That had to be top of the zone, huh?
Yeah, a lot of unhappy umpires in the stands right now.
They got cool glasses though.
They'll appeal. No swing, Jerry Davis. And by the way, I guess a couple of innings later, a tip of the cap to Carlos Torres, the home plate umpire, still working hard back there after the big shot he took off the bat of Joe Ross. 1 ball, 1 strike. A tapper up the middle. Murphy, Espinosa, and because the runner stopped Matt Kemp, the out is made. He might have been safe had he kept going. It's now a 7-5 game.
Whoa. I thought Daniel Murphy was just going to take it himself and get the out. He tried to do the glove flip, and for some reason, and I didn't see it first time, Matt Kemp stopped running. He slid early, actually, looking at it on the scoreboard here. Watch how early Matt Kemp slides. He's not even in the frame yet, and he slid. I'm not sure what that was about. You'd have to ask Matt Kemp. See, there's no way Danny Espinosa can pick that up. Murphy's too close. And when the ball comes out of a glove like that as an infielder, you're like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? This is a good view. Wow. I mean, that's the difference in what could have been a huge inning for the Padres, getting right back into the game and it being a Nats 2-run lead with the run. I mean, that's first and second, 1 out.
Yeah. And another run in, obviously.
You got to go in hard to second base right there. The rule doesn't say you have to slide 10 feet early. It just says you have to slide straight to the base.
So here's Upton, who does represent the tying run.
What I think might have happened, thinking about this for a second, he might have thought Murphy's going to tag him and throw to first. So he stopped running because of that. Then he started to run again. He saw that Espinosa was going to throw it, so he slid early. So maybe back off a little bit of that and think about what Matt Kemp was thinking right there. And that's probably why I slid early. So check that.
Trinan struck out Upton last night. That's on a play off to the right side.
So watch this. He's thinking he's going to get tagged, right? Well, maybe not. Still trying to figure out why he slid that soon.
One and two the count. Left side, Espinosa. He actually appeared to overreach the ball. Might have hit the heel of his glove and gone under him. And a base hit for Upton. Now the tying runs are on base.
That would have been an amazing play if he made it. Upton hit the tar out of this baseball. So he was diving for a bullet on the ground that was pretty much a do or die. I mean, this is going to look a lot easier in slow motion, folks, than it does at real speed. That would have been a web gem for sure if he makes that one. Padres not going away.
Nope. Here's Derek Norris. 0 for 1 career against Trinan. Home run last time. So the Padres got a run in the 6th. The Nats answered in the 7th. And now 2 more here in the bottom of the inning. To a certain extent, the Nats, having scored 15 runs in 2 games, have had to fight off the Padres at every turn.
Yeah, make him beat you the other way.
Blake, just that fastball is all over the place some nights, and he just can't get a strike with it. So the runs in this inning that have scored so far charged to Oliver Perez.
But you see how Wilson Ramos caught that? That gives you an idea of the movement on that two-seamer, that sinker.
On a pitch up, bat shatters. Rendon, good play. Inning over. So the bullpen bends. The Padres pick up 2, and the Nats might need another run or 2.
is really all he needs to do, and I'm saying this with love. This is not being super critical of Blake. He has all the talent in the world. He's a wonderful human being. You don't need to get fancy with the slider. You don't even need to really locate the fastball. Just let that two-seamer feed in, let it eat, as the guys say, and you will break bats left and right. That's the only pitch you need. We saw Ryan Matthews in 2012 with 95-96 throw one pitch, that pitch you just saw Blake Thrinan throw Derek Norris. So there's no need to get fancy. Just attack on the inner half, let it feed onto the bat of the righties, and blow up some lumber like you just did. That was an amazing pitch by Blake Trinan. That's all he needs to do.
Brandon Maurer for San Diego, 25-year-old. Bad ERA, 34th appearance. He's been hittable. And a lot of walks, 18 walks in 32 innings. Wilson Ramos leads off, top 8. Ramos, one career plate appearance against the right-hander, a base on balls. And that one, serious late drop on it.
When you're blessed with 95-98 and it has the run that Blake Trinan has, be really great at one pitch. You're only coming in for an inning or to face two hitters. So just throw that pitch and throw the living daylights out of it, and you'll make a lot of money, and your manager will fall in love with you.
Ramos with a bat toss into a bunch of Nats fans over there.
She okay?
Everybody's smiling.
She said, I'm fine. She got a kiss for it. That was a professional bat toss. You do that when you're relaxed, not when you're grinding. Oh, ooh. Lucky nobody's hurt. They got a Buffalo bat. Nobody's hurt. That's cool.
Yeah, he's had some of the longer tosses of any hitter we've ever seen. 1-2 pitch now.
Good take. Just missed.
Yeah, Maurer overthrew that one a bit. Ramos with a two-hopper to Alexei Ramirez. 1 out, 8th inning. Anthony Rendon coming up. Nationals baseball on Masson. Brought to you by your local Kia dealers. Visit dckiadealers.com to learn more. Anthony Rendon, first career at bat against Brandon Maurer. Our guy Masson Dan getting booed over there, but Dan is just negotiating a trade. That fan will get something significant in return for the bat.
Now cheer Dan.
Now cheer Dan, please, people. That's how things work. And that's a foul tip on a check swing by Rendon, and he strikes out.
Dan's a man of the people. He's the people's sideline reporter, and he's always doing good deeds in the go-between for negotiations for all kinds of stuff.
Well, remember, was it recently a fan got one bat and ended up with a Bryce Harper bat?
Right. And maybe
so
that
these things have a way of working themselves out.
Maybe that is a Bryce Harper bet. I can't see the number on the bottom. Can Dan confirm?
Here's Danny Espinosa. Base hit last time. Change up this time.
He tried to hit that one over the beach. That's a Clint Robinson bat. 25. Or an Adam LaRoche bat from 2 years ago. Almost said last year. Let's get late.
Danny Espinosa 0 for 2 against Mauer. And a swing and a miss. The count 0-2. Stephen Drew next for Blake Trinan, who just had another long inning, 22 pitches, 13 strikes. But he did minimize the damage after Perez allowed 2 men to get aboard. Espinosa right side. Retreating Myers and then racing Espinosa to the bag. The Nationals go 1-2-3. 6 outs to get in a 7-5 game. A regularly scheduled ball game. It's Max Scherzer. He's 8-4 in 14 starts. The league only hitting .203 against him, and he has 118 strikeouts. He'll take on Colin Ray, who's 3-3 with a .537 in 12 starts for the Padres. Nats Extra 9:30 with Byron and Ray. And we'll join you from Petco Park at 10 o'clock.
Time for Toyota Case for Kids. Washington area Toyota dealers want to help children and their families by making a donation of $37 to the Children's Inn at NIH for every strikeout by a Nats pitcher this season.
Now it's Sammy Solis' turn. And the 27-year-old throws a strike.
Yeah, fastball for Sammy averaging 94 this season. Curveball 80, changeup 85.
And a ball off the end of the bat. Out of play off the bat of Ryan Schimpf, who's been a tough out tonight. A double on an 0-2 pitch, and then he walked twice.
Yeah, I like what I'm seeing from this kid. And he looks like his manager, so that's always good for playing time.
That's a nasty breaking ball, and Sammy gets the strikeout.
Yeah, that's not Ryan Schimpf. It's Andy Green. Close, right?
A
Never heard that theory before, and I'll have to think about that for a while, do some additional research. So here's Ramirez with Brett Wallace coming out on deck. Pitcher spot.
I feel like you could put your last comment on loop for about 90% of the things I say.
Further research required.
Yeah. I've never heard that before.
For verification purposes.
I'm going to have to do further research to verify that.
And the way we do research is just by watching ball games, so it could take a while.
We got the best job ever. Make broadcasting fun again.
3-0 as Sammy gets the strikeout. Now gets in a hurry against Ramirez. Nationals bullpen gave up just 1 run last night. 3 hits in 3 innings. Sean Kelly was great at the end. There's Brett Wallace. 4-pitch walk. So each reliever has walked a man since coming in. And when this one's over tonight, Byron Kerr and Ray Knight are in the studio. They got the Nats Extra postgame show for you, presented by W.B. Mason. Pitching coaches and managers will tell you that when a key member of your bullpen goes on the DL or is not available, it not only affects the time when he's pitching, but it shuffles some other slots around in trying to get the ball to the 9th inning. And Dusty just kind of piecing things together here. In this case tonight, needing the last 9 outs from his pen.
Relievers will tell you they're most comfortable when they know their role. You hear them a lot of times, and not this year, but in previous years, saying, I don't know what my role is. I don't know when I'm coming in. The phone rings and we're all guessing who it is. When you know when that phone rings that it's you, now you get into a routine. You get into a rhythm.
Ball gets away. Oh, don't throw it into center field. And that's a great pick by Danny Espinosa. Wild pitch puts Ramirez at second.
And when one member of that bullpen is absent and things change, now you don't know who's going in when. So when that phone rings down there, there's a bunch of guys that their heartbeat's going a little bit faster until the bullpen coach says, it's you. But bottom line is, no matter when you're called, it's the big leagues. You got to come in and you got to throw strikes and go right after guys.
Sammy follows up the walk and the wild pitch with a perfect heater, making the count 2-1. Brett Wallace 3 for 8, 2 RBIs as a pinch hitter. That is smoke 94 right by the 29-year-old first baseman.
Trust your stuff. The heater plays. There's no doubt about it.
Two balls, 2 strikes, 1 out.
There's an old saying in baseball, never get beat with your second best pitch, get beat with your best pitch. And I think Sammy might have learned that against the Cubs the other night when Almora Jr. got that base hit. It's an off-speed pitch. His fastball is fantastic.
Curveball just missed.
Curveball ain't bad either, but the fastball is his best pitch.
A hot hitter on deck in John Jay. You don't want him batting with 2 men on. So this is a key pitch here. Fastball. Yusmeiro Petit for the Nats.
for Will Myers and Matt Kemp, you'd think.
Yeah. Got him looking. Sammy Solis with a fastball 94. Wallace took it, 2 down.
But Brett Wallace didn't like it. Good frame by Wilson Ramos. Pitch track didn't like it, but the only guy that counts is Carlos Torres, and he called it a strike.
Top of the order, John Jay. Huge break for the Nats. Jay facing Solis for the first time. Three for 4 tonight, a pair of doubles, 2 runs, an RBI.
Stay right in there.
Yeah, that thing was diving, wasn't it?
Pretty good movement, 93. Jay can't get to it. He was thinking tie ball game with that swing.
Jay 2 homers all year, but he's driven in 23, and he's been one of the better hitters in the league with runners in scoring position. Out to short, Danny Espinosa there, and the 8th inning is over. So Sammy walks a man but strikes out a couple to the 9th. 7-5 Washington.
It's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Daniel hits Murphy. 2 hits a day, Murphy. Daniel hits the ball all over the field, Murphy. Daniel, I'm going to be an all-star, Murphy. Couple RBIs on the double in the 3rd. And then the Tater backing that one up, back legging him, back spinning him out to left center field for his 12th home run of the year. I'm being told it's Foie with an F by some friends on Twitter, that's what Bryce Harper put on Instagram the other day under a picture, so we'll go with it. Foie.
29-year-old left-hander Ryan Buckner, and he gets Chris Heisey here leading off the 9th. Buckner 32nd appearance, 1.86 ERA, 41 strikeouts in 29 innings.
Hard to ask a team that scored 7 to get some insurance runs, but
yeah,
it's been a wild one.
This one popped up over by the Padres dugout. Got a play. Hey, why not use Miro Petit? Guys pitch in every situation.
Well, that's exactly what Dusty said when he'd use him. He said he's my utility guy, so I use that guy at any time. We already talked about Sean Kelly, double Tommy John guys, pitched 2 nights in a row. You can't ride him too long. So going with Yusmeiro, who has 1 career save, and it's been a 3-inning save.
And there's Sean Kelly back there with Matt Belisle. One of the things you have to watch with Kelly, those back-to-back appearances. And he did throw 12 pitches last night. Pitched a great end of the ball game. And that fastball to Matt Belisle up and away. Pardon me. Another former Red. We just mentioned Belisle. It's Chris Heisey. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
It's 1:30 in the morning for us too, partner. Don't worry about it.
Well, this offense is giving Dusty a chance to work out the bullpen thing. I mean, if you're scoring 1 or 2 runs a night right now, you're probably losing some ball games. The offense is doing its job. Heisey swinging a miss on a high fastball. 1 out in the 9th inning. Here's Dan.
Bob, I talked to Sean Kelly yesterday. He said he communicates with Mike Maddox and Dusty Baker every day, telling them what, if anything, he can give them that day. I asked him how he evaluates that. He said it's his workload over the last 4 to 5 days. That includes appearances, pitches thrown, times warming up, and not getting in a game. He hates being honest and telling Dusty and Mike that he can't go some days, but he says it's important to be honest, and he's gotten better at that over the course of his career, knowing that he will be needed late in the year. He can't burn out too early.
Well, being honest is the best thing for the ball club. The guys are competitive. They want to play. They want to pitch. They want to compete.
I think when you've had a couple Tommy Johns, you have to be honest.
Michael A. Taylor can't catch up with a fastball. Prior to tonight, the only 2 Nats hitters who've ever seen Buckner in person, Jason Worth and Ryan Zimmerman. So it's Worth next here in the 9th. Good night for Jason. 2 for 4, a run scored. Kick-started a rally in the 3rd inning that all happened with 2 outs.
This guy's got good stuff. It's 93. Got a quick arm. He's pounding righties in.
As I mentioned, 29 years of age. Prior to this year, 1 game in the big leagues with the Braves 2 years ago. Right now, blowing away big league hitters. 2 down. Next up, Worth, 0 for 1 career against the lefty.
That's the shake the cobwebs look, and he looked like he had trouble picking up that first pitch, just the body language after the take.
And to a knee with a big swing. 0-2.
Got a couple hits under your belt. You're feeling good up there. Why not try to hit the Marriott?
This year booked her holding opponents to a 165 average. They might be onto something with that left arm. Blows away the Nats in the top of the ninth. It's up to Yusmeiro Petit, and they have Myers, Kemp, and Solarte coming up. Yusmeiro Petit is an Nats hold on to a 7-5 lead. Bottom of the ninth, one career save, and that was last year with the Giants. Yusmeiro makes his 17th appearance with a 2.90 ERA.
It was a 3-inning save too, so his first chance for a conventional save. He has a 2-run lead, and he's going to face the heart of the order. And Nata dudes hanging in there, checking it out. You see the sunglass giveaway right there on that dude. The thing I like best about Yusmeiro, he's not scared. He's going right after you, and he's going to make you beat him the other way. Most of the fastballs you'll see averaging 88 miles an hour be on the outer half of the plate to Will Myers and Matt Kemp.
Right-handers hitting .222 against him this year. And over the last 3 years, just .214. Will Myers 0 for 1 career against the Nats right-hander.
The one thing you could say is that the Padres have a lot of knowledge on Yusmeiro because same division for a number of years. He's been, well, he was with the Giants 12, 13, 14, and 15.
Yeah, in Arizona 3 years before that. Yeah. So a 1-0 to the knees, outside edge, counts even with 85. On the breaking ball, Myers no chance to reach it.
Fastball away, strike one. Myers thinking, oh, there's that fastball away again, and he throws the slider and expands even further out. Good pitch.
There's the heater, and Myers late for it. Nats trying to get 3 more outs to do a couple things they haven't done this year. Go to 18 games over 500 and open up a 6-game lead in the East. One-two pitch up the middle.
Well, he hit a spot Will Myers just does a nice job of expanding his zone and actually taking a pitch off the plate and pulling it right back up the middle. And here we go. Hold on.
Yeah, bullpen quiet. Felipe Rivero threw 21 pitches last night. Kelly threw 12. If you eliminate those two, the only guy left is Matt Belisle. These guys know each other well. Of those 7 hits, a double, a triple, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs. Yusmeiro has struck him out 6 times.
I think more important than location right here, just keep the ball down. Don't give Matt Kemp something he can elevate. Knees and below right here. Outside would be nice, but emphasis on down. Good pitch.
Yeah, just like strike 2 to Myers.
Good pitch. Started low and went lower. Bottom of the zone or below.
Ball gets away from Wilson Ramos. He found it in a hurry. Well, you want to keep that double play in order no matter what. And the count 2-2.
And if you're Will Myers, nowhere to go. I mean, you have to be 1,000,000,000% sure if you're going to advance on a ball that trickles away. Down by 2, your run doesn't mean a thing. Just along for the ride.
Kemp did well to extend and get a piece. Seven 11-0 Washington, 5-9-0 San Diego. Kemp has hit into 7 double plays this year. And that's a high drive to left field. It's going to stay in the ballpark for Jason Worth. About 8 feet from a tie game. 1 out. Looked dangerous off the bat.
Whoa. I think Matt Kemp is saying the same thing in his head right now. Whoa. And I had bad thoughts when that ball was in the air. I have to apologize. No, he knew he missed it right away. Jason Worth back on the track. Plenty of room, not a problem. Can of corn.
Here's Solarte. Whoa. RBI ground ball last time up. Ball 1. Good pitch. Petit had him lunging.
Change up, 83.
Just a little bit outside, 2-1.
Not getting cheated, is he?
2-2 pitch. Popped him up. This will be close. On the track, Murphy calls off Zimmerman. 2 outs. And their cleanup man is 0 for 10 in this series. It's up to Upton.
I think he's a little frustrated. He got a couple pitches he thought he could handle. Good pitch by Ismero. Now same way. Make him beat you the other way.
Melvin Upton Jr. 1 for 4. Hot shot off the glove of Danny Espinosa last time. Runner goes and the Nats concede second base. Here's Espinosa. A throw. Yes! And the Nats hold on to win it in San Diego.
What a play by Espinosa. I mean, you got a guy that can run, and Melvin Upton Jr. flying down the line trying to extend this baseball game, and Espinosa going in the hole across his body. And look how much he got on that throw. Wasn't even close at first base. And another Curly W in the books. And this road trip is starting out nice for the Nats.
The Nats have won 7 of 8, 14 of 18. They're now 18 over the